Hi, I'm Dave North, National Sales Manager for Quincy Compressor. I'm here today to talk to you about a few things about our compressors and explain to you the differences between single stage and two stage. So I'd like to just start with this particular machine. It's a 5 horsepower, 80 gallon two stage machine. Two stage is pretty simple. All it means is that the air is compressed twice. And doing that, what we do is we have a large low pressure piston, which you can kind of see here in the front. The air is compressed once in this large low pressure piston, and then it comes around through this intercooler and is compressed a second time in this smaller high pressure piston. And when we do that, the compression coming out of the pump jumps all the way up to about 175 pounds of pressure. It comes out this discharge tube and into the tank for storage. Okay, single stage is simply meaning that the air is compressed once. A single stage machine might be simply a single cylinder or a two cylinder machine, but essentially a single stage, the air is only going to be compressed just once, and in two stage, the air is compressed twice. In addition to giving you higher pressure, it gives you faster recovery. So you're able to do a lot more work with a two stage and use a wider array of tools with a two stage than you could typically a single stage machine. Our Quincy machines are all made in America, made in Quincy, Illinois, where we've been building them for almost 100 years. We use heavy-duty cast iron crankcase as a casting material. The cylinder is heavy cast iron, and on the head we use aluminum. We use aluminum because aluminum does a much better job of dissipating the heat. And when we design and build these machines, everything is focused on extending the life of our product. Here we use cast iron because that's a perfect wear material, and we use an abundance of cast iron in these particular parts so that it absorbs noise rather than resonates noise. What we also do, here's a heavy cast iron crankshaft. Hopefully you can see by the size of this, this is very heavy. We use heavy-duty ball bearings at both ends of the crankshaft. We compete with folks who may use bushings at both ends rather than heavy-duty ball bearings. They also may use a bushing at one end and just a ball bearing at the other, but we use heavy-duty ball bearings at each end. This is a two-piece automotive-style connecting rod. One of the things that we also do is we use a needle bearing at the top of the wrist pin. Again, our competitors don't do this. Our competitors are typically using a piece up here just as cast, so there's nothing here whatsoever, or they might use a bushing. But Quincy Compressor uses nothing but a heavy-duty needle bearing, again, just extending the life of these machines. Our valve plates, as you can see, they go right in there. Our valve plates, we do things that our competitors, again, don't really think to do, but our valve seats are machine ground and polished. We also do something that's a process called coining. We put this essentially in a fixture and we hit it with a press, and it condenses these particular valve seats so it eliminates any wear issues. So that's another huge advantage. Over here we use a combination switch. It is a pressure switch, which is essentially a control device telling this machine when it starts to run, it cuts off at 175 psi, and as you use the air and the air pressure in the tank drops to about 135, the pressure switch will kick it back in automatically, and the process will simply repeat itself. We call it a combination switch because we also have thermal overload protection built into that switch to protect the motor and the pressure switch in cases where the unit may be affected by problems with the quality of electricity coming into the machine, an electric strike, and those kind of things. The other things that we have on our machine, we use a polyester air filter. Our competitors use either foam or a paper air filter. The advantages of a polyester filter are such that a polyester filter can be washed out with warm soap and water, and the life of the filter can be extended 7 to 10 times. But really the biggest advantage of a polyester filter is that compared to a paper or a foam filter, those filters will only filter down somewhere between a micron size of 10 and 50. A polyester will filter 10 to 50 times better, meaning that the micron size that can pass through here is all the way down to 1. So it does a significantly better job of filtering the air before it's compressed so that the air going into the tank and the air coming out for your tools is 10 to 50 times cleaner. The Quincy difference is all about pump life. We compete in a world where most of our competitors have machines that last anywhere from 2,000 to 5,000 hours. And wouldn't it be terrific if we could say this was a 10,000 hour pump? But actually our pumps are designed to last longer than 50,000 hours, which is extraordinary. Just imagine that in terms of using a compressor. If you buy a compressor today and you turn it on and you use this compressor and it runs 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, you're probably going to look to rebuild our machine somewhere in the next 30 to 35 years. And that's extraordinary. That's what we mean when we say, you buy a Quincy and you really do buy it for life. The reason these pumps they last so long, it all starts at the very heart and soul of our machine, and that's the way we machine and bore our cylinders. We do all of this in Quincy, Illinois, and we do a better job of it than anywhere else in the world. We believe we have the best concentricity, the best finishing hone in the crosshatch design on our cylinders, so it starts there. But the other things that we do, we have a pump that's running slow, it's running cool, it's running quiet, and we add design features like an aluminum head, as I mentioned before. We also use copper discharge tubes and a copper unloader pipe over here. Some of our competitors use aluminum. Aluminum is not as advantageous in this application. Copper is really what you want to use. Competitors typically shy away from that just because it simply costs more money. We make it easy to drain your tanks. When we compress all this air, the compressed air goes into the tank and the air expands, cools off, moisture drops down to the bottom of the tank, and before a very short amount of time, you start to collect quite a bit of moisture. So that tank's got to be drained every single day. But if you have a compressor, as all of our competitors do, you've got to get down on all fours, reach up underneath with your hand and try to bust loose a drain cock, and inevitably over time, and that happens pretty quickly, those drain cocks start to stick, you can't bust them loose, and therefore you can't get the moisture out. With a Quincy compressor, all you have to do is reach down, pull a quarter-turn ball valve that has a nice extension that comes to the outside of the tank, so it's easy to do. So if it's easy to do, people will drain their tank more often, hence the tank really should last a lot longer. Well, there are a few other things I'd like to share with you about Quincy compressors. Initially, as you probably are already aware of, when you go to look at buying a Quincy compressor, you might notice it's a little bit more expensive than the other machines that are out there. And it's true, our machine does cost a little bit more up front. But remember, you're getting a machine that, properly taken care of, this is going to be a machine that, if it's used heavily, it's still going to last 30 to 40 years. Over time, while we're a little bit more expensive up front, it absolutely has the lowest cost of ownership relative to other machines in the marketplace. And when compared with other machines, in my opinion, this is absolutely the finest machine you're ever going to be able to find anywhere.